The time is precisely 6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Chandima Virakon. The headlines. More than 50% in the Western Province has been given the second COVID vaccine dose. Malwatu and Askiri Mahanayaka Thero's write to the President and Prime Minister on COVID control. More than 1,000 projects have been implemented to promote primary health care. All measures have been taken to import high-quality nitrogen plant nutrients. Post-educational institutes will be established for school dropouts. Samurdhi Arunalu Livelihood Program commences. On news overseas, President Biden says U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan past withdrawal deadline. In sports, a COVID case detected to the Tokyo Paralympics village. Local stories in detail. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says that the second dose of the COVID vaccine has been given to more than 50% of the population in the Western Province. It is 57% in Colombo, 61% in Gampaha, and 73% in Kalutara. The government aims to give both vaccine doses to all citizens by the middle of next week. All those who are above 60 years and have not received the vaccine in the Colombo district are expected to be given vaccines from the 21st to the 28th of this month. The Army commander said that 19.7 million vaccine doses have been imported so far. The Mahanayaka of the Malwatu chapter, Most Venerable Sri Siddhartha Sumangala Thero, and Mahanayaka of the Askiri chapter, Most Venerable Varakagoda Jnanaratana Thero, have requested the government to protect lives by paying attention to advice and recommendations of the health experts. They have mentioned this sending a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. They have requested also to pay attention about the warnings issued by the World Health Organization on Sri Lanka. State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe says that more than 1,000 projects have been implemented to promote primary health at a cost of 5,000 million rupees. The State Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government Administration has implemented the program to achieve the targets in the Vistas of Prosperity policy statement. Providing medical equipment, developing staff capacity, improving emergency treatment units and enhancing hospital facilities are being done under the program. Professor of Agricultural Science of the Sabaragamuwa University, Priyantha Yapa, says that all measures have been taken to import high-quality nitrogen plant nutrients. He pointed out that many people have understood the reality of using organic fertilizer. He said there are new methods in the world to produce organic fertilizer for high yields. Minister Dinesh Gunamadana says that steps have been taken to make students who leave schools halfway strong citizens. He said that post-educational institutes will be established to achieve the aim. Mr. Gunamadana mentioned this while assuming duties as the new Minister of Education. He pointed out that the Free Education Act of Mr. C.W.W. Kannangara has provided many benefits to the country. Minister Gunamadana pointed out that attention has been paid to use electronic media more for education under the present context. The Samurdhi Arunalu Livelihood Development Program has commenced. Joining the program, State Minister Shahan Semasinghe said Samurdhi families will be empowered through many sectors including agriculture, animal husbandry and fisheries. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A giant interest rate for your fixed deposit that you deposit this month. Call 0718 800 999.
Continuing with the local stories, the Patriotic United National Party says that although several trade unions tried to disrupt the vaccination program, it had failed due to the commitment of troops. Leader of the party, Sugathewa Patirana, said that conducting protests has increased the risk of spreading COVID-19. He pointed out that Samagi Janabala Vegaya and JVP instigated groups to conduct protests. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that discussions were held with all teachers' unions without a delay after the appointment of the ministerial subcommittee. Proposals related to the discussions will be submitted to the Cabinet next week. Discussions are also to be held with the Finance Ministry. Minister Ranatunga said necessary details have been taken from the Education Ministry. He said today that the government hopes to solve the problems through a new method. The religious items of Sandahiru Stupa are scheduled to arrive on a religious procession at Panadura Rankot Viharaya tomorrow evening. From the beginning of its passage from Kurunduwatta Mahaviharaya tomorrow, the religious procession, which is carrying 2 revered articles, is scheduled to arrive at Rankot Viharaya Panadura while passing through Gonapala, Kahatudua, Kasbava and Bandaragama. Accordingly, the crest gem and the sacred pinnacle will be kept at the Panadura Rankot Viharaya tomorrow night. Police divisions of the respective areas will control the traffic and strict healthcare measures will be in place during the program. To end the local news, the headlines again. More than 50% in the Western Province has been given the second COVID vaccine. Mullatiu, Malwatu and Askiri Mahanayaka Theros write to the President and Prime Minister on COVID control. More than 1,000 projects have been implemented to promote primary health care. All measures have been taken to import high-quality nitrogen plant nutrients. Post-educational institutes will be established for school dropouts. Samurdhi Arunalu Livelihood Development Program commences. That ends the local news.
Now, get your EPF loan information and service details via SMS from HDFC Bank. Wherever you are, being a state and private sector employee, to obtain EPF loan information and service details, just send a SMS mentioning EPF space, name and region to 0718 800 999. HDFC Bank, the bank for your home.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story, over 5 million Sri Lankans have completed the vaccination process against the COVID-19 virus as of yesterday. Epidemiologists said 124,131 people were given the second dose yesterday, bringing the total number of those who have completed both doses to 5,124,185. Accordingly, 24% of the country's population has completed the COVID-19 vaccination. Meanwhile, 12,019,193 people have so far received at least one dose of the vaccine, which is 56% of the population. That ends the main news story.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemanta Herath has emphasized that public gatherings lead to the spread of COVID-19. He said that the country will be at risk if such situations occur in future. He has pointed out everyone should pay their attention in this regard. That ends Watchlight. We move on to the world news, the headlines. President Biden says U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan past withdrawal deadline. India vaccination drive picks up pace amid fears of third wave. Former Netflix staffers charged for insider trading. U.S. President Joe Biden has said U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan beyond his withdrawal deadline as armed Taliban fighters kept desperate evacuees from reaching Kabul's airport. Mr. Biden wants U.S. forces out by the end of this month, but up to 15,000 U.S. citizens are stranded in the country. The U.S. president told media the turmoil in Kabul was unavoidable. Foreign governments are ramping up the airlift of Western citizens and Afghans who worked with them. India is ramping up its coronavirus vaccination drive as it races to stave off a third wave of infections. The government said on Tuesday the country administered more than 8.81 million doses in 24 hours, the highest daily jabs since vaccination began in January. But only 13% of the eligible population, nearly a billion, has been fully vaccinated so far, leaving a majority of the people still vulnerable. With some 32 million COVID cases, India is the second worst affected country in the world after the United States, which has more than 35 million infections. The Wall Street watchdog has charged 3 former Netflix software engineers over an alleged insider trading ring that made $3 million. The ex-staff members and 2 close associates were named in court papers. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission said confidential Netflix subscriber growth data was used in the scheme. The information was allegedly used to trade the steaming giant's shares ahead of its earning points. To end the world news, the headlines again. President Biden says U.S. troop may stay in Afghanistan past withdrawal deadline. India vaccination drive picks up pace amid fears of third wave. Former Netflix staffers charged for insider trading. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB500, number 1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
Moving on to development news. A mechanism to manage COVID-19 patients at home quarantine has been prepared jointly by ICTA, National Operations Centre to Prevent COVID-19 and Telecommunication Regulatory Commission. Support of Mobitel, Dialog, Hutch and Airtel has been given to the project. That ends development news.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB500, number 1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
And on sports news, organizers said today a COVID case has been detected in the Tokyo Paralympics village just days before the games are due to start. The person who tested positive for the virus is not an athlete and is not a resident of Japan, they added. Organizers have already reported more than 70 COVID cases linked to the Paralympics, mostly among contractors and staff. The Games are due to begin in 5 days on 24th August. Around 4,400 athletes from approximately 160 teams are set to take part in the Paralympics. That ends the sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The Ministry of Finance has confirmed that the Commercial Bank of Ceylon was the biggest lender to Sri Lanka's SME sector in 2020 among all state-owned, private and specialized banks in the country. According to the Ministry's annual report for 2020, Commercial Bank lent 163.98 billion rupees or 21.57% of the 759.7 billion rupees in loans provided to SMEs by 19 institutions. While the 58,584 loans provided by the bank represented 23.82% of the total of 245,883 loans granted in the pandemic-impacted year. That ends Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And on economic news, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, at its meeting held yesterday, decided to increase the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the central bank by 50 basis points each to 5% and 6% respectively. In addition, the Monetary Board decided to increase the statutory reserve ratio applicable on all rupee deposit liabilities of licensed commercial banks by 2% to 4% with effect from the reserve maintenance period commencing on 1st September 2021.
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, on the weather report, the Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in western Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara Eliya districts. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in Uva and eastern provinces and in Muletu and Vaunia districts. That ends the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And to end this bulletin of news, the headlines again. More than 50% in the western province has been given the second COVID vaccine dose. Malwatu and Asgiri Mahanayaka Theros write to the President and Prime Minister on COVID control. More than 1,000 projects have been implemented to promote primary health care. All measures have been taken to import high-quality nitrogen plant nutrients. Post-educational institutes will be established for school dropouts. Samurdhi Arunalu Livelihood Development Program commences. In news overseas, President Biden says U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan past withdrawal deadline. In sports news, a COVID case detected in the Tokyo Paralympics village. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.